It is just a huge honor to bring back for a second time Jeff Gladnick. 700 podcasts. I don't think I've brought very many people back.
It's an honor.
And I only brought you back because you're a bald beauty. You know, us bald guys got to stick together.
We do.
But you had a very interesting story. Your dad's a dentist.
I got 8 dentists in my family.
8 dentists in your family.
My brother married another dentist. They have not created new dentists yet, but it's in the future. My grandfather, my Uncle Dan, my Aunt Kathy, Uncle Joe, Uncle Kevin. It's whole family tree.
So the reason I brought you back is because I know my homies. I know more dentists. And I know them well. I go to their offices. I've spent the night in 1,000 dentist homes. You know, they were at a dental.
Homes?
Yeah. When I travel, I don't like to stay in. Who likes to stay in a Marriott? They're like, oh, we'll put you up in a Marriott. Well, that ain't fun. I'd much rather stay at some dentist's house. But I'll tell you, and then when you go to foreign countries, like say when you go to Poland. Well, do you want to stay at the Marriott in Poland, or would you rather go stay?
Oh yeah, if you get with the local, you get the
March and Dolecki's house. When I was in March and Dolecki's house, I got to see the inside of a Polish house and the inside of a Polish refrigerator. How Polish families interact. I thought that was
what's in a Polish refrigerator?
Lots of sausages of all kinds of different colors. Lots of.
Are they just hanging up like in the?
No, but that's the cool part of it all. You know what I mean? It's like, God, the last thing you want to do when you go to Cambodia is stay in a damn Marriott.
Yeah, it also feels the same.
But the one thing I love about my homies, you spend the night in a dentist's house. There's 100 nonfiction books in there, and that doc has read them all.
Yeah.
You spend the night in someone who's not a dentist, not a physician, not a lawyer. There's no nonfiction. It's 50 Shades of Grey and People Magazine, and they can't name. Dentists are highly educated people, and that's why I love them. I love them to death. But the bottom line is, being a dentist, I'd rather pull 4 wisdom teeth than play golf. And when it comes to their dental website,
I don't know if our clients feel the same way. Maybe not 4. We got a lot of golfers.
Golfers, but back to their website. 5 to 10 years ago, they were at some convention. They gave some guys credit card. They built a website, and they've never even looked at it since.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
No, we had a guy say that today. It's something you need to be involved in on a regular basis. We give away. I'll have to get you a tripod from our booth because this would be good for you. But we always want people to just create content. And Dr. Zuckerberg was talking about this earlier, but that can be put onto Facebook if you're recording video. Patient testimonials, just little videos with you, the dentist. You have a great personality. You're beloved. But a lot of dentists feel like nobody wants to hear what they have to say, which is absolutely not true. Patients do want to hear what they have to say, and maybe only a couple of hundred people will view that video over the course of a couple of years. But when you start to look at how many of those convert to patients, it's tens. And you start to make a lot of videos, this adds up to a significant amount of new business. And so we want our clients to be involved somewhat in the process. And if you haven't touched your website in 5 years, you should look at it, and it probably looks old and stale and bland.
Hey, dude. When anybody sends me an email, they'll always sound like Jeff. It's like, oh, really? Like, out of 2 million dentists, you're the only dentist named Jeff? So a lot of times I hit the reply, and I'll say Jeff at, some website deal. And I'll take off the ad and www and go to their website. Okay, so I'm doing this dozens of times a day. And I'm telling you, dozens of times a day, those are some lame-ass old websites. Yeah, all day, every day. You almost never ever see a website that would sit there and say, well, that's a good website.
Yeah. It's something where I think a lot of dentists check a box and they say,
done.
I'm done. I have a website and I'm good. But it's something that usually every 3 to 5 years, even our clients, like the design gets stale. So we'll just redo the design. The rest of the website's good, but we'll just redo the design. And people judge you based on how the website looks. If you have a really shitty website, it's like having a really shitty waiting room. And people think you're a shitty dentist. And it's not fair because you might be the best, most highly educated person in your town. You might have the best training, the most CE education. But all they see is this lame website that looks like it was made by a 15-year-old in the late 90s.
And another thing that's funny is the contact us on most dentist website. You put in your name, you put in your phone number, you put in your email, and you put in the message, and then you have to, prove that you're not, a spammer,
right.
and you got to put in details, and then you hit send. Half of them don't even work. It's like, dude, are you shitting? And then it's like, okay, so now I got to send you an email. But you sent me an email. That's why I'm looking at this. But if you didn't have sent me an email, I would not know what your email is, and your damn send doesn't even work.
There's nothing more frustrating, and we've all been in this situation where you fill out a form and you've put, and like the first time you write it, it's really good. And then the second time you write it, you're just like pissed off because it failed and you have to do it all over again. You've lost your work. Like, it's, or you don't do it. You're like,
So why do, dentists putting their email on a website, they consider like putting their social security number and driver's license and home address and where their granddaughter lives. I mean, why don't you just put your damn email on there?
If you put your email in plain text and just leave it out on the website, you'll tend to get a lot of spam. So,
but who doesn't get a lot of spam anyway?
That's true. I mean,
do you get a lot of spam?
I get a ton of spam.
And I just want to podcast Sargi Bren and Andy Grove, or Sargi Bren and Larry Page of Google. It's like, okay, how can I be in Salina, Kansas, and I can do a Google search and find the closest Mexican restaurant in 0.002 seconds. But Google can't figure out that email sent to me from a Nigerian prince who just inherited $1 billion. And I mean, how does... It's almost like Google would have to be in on that.
Well, no.
How could they not know that's spam? I mean, a 5-year-old granddaughter would know that's spam. How does Google not know
They have
spam?
a lot of money paying PhDs to develop artificial intelligence to approximate the intelligence of your 5-year-old
Well, why don't they just
granddaughter.
block Nigerian prince? I mean,
That's one strategy.
Do I need to get a job to Google and say, you know what? There's no Nigerian princes who inherited $100 million.
I was in Paris a couple weeks ago, and I met a guy in line who worked for the Nigerian oil ministry. And I was like, boy, you must have a lot of problems getting your email sent. He's like, you have no idea. Like everything he sends is like, people are like, yeah, I'm sure you work for the Nigerian oil ministry. He's like, no, this is real. And
so you now, how long have you been in business?
I think it's been about 10 years now.
And what is your website?
GreatDentalWebsites.com.
And how many dentists have you built a website for?
Oh, I mean, we track it by individual practices, so how many website builds, but I think that number's around 550 at this point.
So that's huge. How many of those do you just put Howard at Dentaltown? I mean, I get my email on Howard at Dentaltown.com.
What do you mean? Where we put their email address on?
Yeah, so that a patient going to one of your client dentist websites, Great Dental website, do you do them all where you have to fill out all the boxes?
We try to keep the boxes as small as possible. I think there's only like 4 fields. We used to have more, but when we did testing, every time you remove a field, the percentage of people filling out the form goes up. So we try to get that to the bare minimum. We'll put the email address on sometimes, but we're a little conscious of spam. Everybody we have every single one of our customers is on the same software platform. So if for a second, there's a problem with emails going through the form, this is going to affect customers site-wide, and we're going to fix it immediately. So it's easier for us to rely on that than if you have a random website and nobody's looked at it in a couple months. There are people checking this 10 times a day.
Tell me this, since you've been on last time, what's changed for website? Because the bottom line is, these guys want new patient flow.
Yeah.
And we've gone to a digital economy where mom, who makes 90% of all appointments, they're all on a Samsung, they're all on an iPhone. Yeah. What percent of your websites are mobile friendly?
Oh, 100%.
And what's the other thing? Does mobile friendly mean that the size adjusts to the
we call that responsive.
So, and that's got to be very important.
Oh, it's vital. Usually when we're looking at stats, it's close to 50%. In some cases, it's higher. We have one client in Oregon that was like 80% of all the traffic coming to the website are on mobile devices. So if you have a really old website, this is less frequent these days, but it was made with Flash. where you used to see all the fancy animation and stuff. If you're doing that, that's a big problem. Steve Jobs hated Flash, and the iPhone wouldn't support it, the iPad wouldn't support it. And
was that an ego thing, or was that a real strategic thing?
I think it was both. I think he hit some beef with Adobe, and it was also inefficient for the battery. And so I think they probably could have fixed it. Because
that's an amazing story, because if that guy would have been a politician, they'd have thrown him off a cliff. But it's funny how some of the most amazing minds, they can compartmentalize. Other parts of their life can be such a... I mean, Jobs was a major asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, he would drive to work and double park his Porsche in the handicaps.
Well, he never had a license plate. Did you know about this? So in California, and I don't know if they still have the law, but you were allowed to have no plates if you had recently purchased a car. So he made a deal with his local Mercedes dealer where he's like, I want to get the same SLK, and I want to get it every 5 months and 30 days. So you come, I'll pay you, tell me what it's going to cost. But for some reason, he had like a little bit of a anti-authoritarian streak, and he was like, I'm not registering my car.
Anti-authoritarian, and he didn't pay taxes. He
didn't pay taxes?
Him and Zuckerberg, both their corporations are held in Ireland.
Yeah. The double Irish strategy.
So when they're giving some charity away, it's like, dude, this country doesn't run on charity. You don't pay your taxes. It's in Ireland.
Yeah.
And Apple is now...
They've got a lot of money offshore. It's like $250 billion.
But they're under a monstrous EU lawsuit right now, because the EU is going to come back and prove that this tax rate's fraudulent because Ireland or the EU can't run on this tax rate, and that the reason you have so much cash is because you don't pay your taxes.
They're going to have to pay their pound of flesh to somebody. I feel
well, you can't start a company in a country that has roads, bridges, military, public schools, and all this infrastructure, and then say, oh, well, this was all about me. This country had nothing to do with it, and I don't pay my taxes.
Well, they probably paid their their campaign donations.
Yeah.
To the people making the tax law.
But basically, it's all on the cell phone, the website. And how many? Here's a great task I want you to do right now. Is the minute you get to work or at the red light or whatever, open up your website, because just like you don't ever call yourself, so you don't know your phone number, you don't go to your own website because you know your address, you know your numbers and everything, but you need to go look at your website, because I look at dental websites all the times, and they're more times than not incredibly lame.
There's a couple things you should test for. One is make sure it all renders on the screen. So sometimes the website will work, but it'll be huge, and you have to like zoom around and pinch like you're trying to navigate a map. Two, you should be able to click the phone number, so to speak, with your thumb, which we would call a click-to-call. We track those events in our system. So you don't want to have to like switch back and forth. Like that's the most annoying thing when you're trying to order takeout from a restaurant or something. You have to switch back and forth, put in the first three numbers, go back. You're going to have problems. Just make sure you can click it. The website should look nice. Half your people are going to see that on a phone. You want them to have a good experience.
And tell me structurally, what is a website? I mean, what they want more than anything is they want to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and have their website show up on the first page.
Yeah.
How much of that is based on you building the website versus a marketing team taking that website and doing SEO, Google banner ads?
It's a little both, and we do both of these services, and we work with other companies that are doing these services, and we're just doing the website. But there's a lot of different philosophies, and it's a really hard thing for dentists to evaluate when they're trying to find a company. It's like trying to... The analogy I always like to use is weightlifting, where I can tell you right now that I went to the gym last week, and I'm a weightlifter. And you look at me and say, maybe. I can believe you've lifted weights before, but not much and not recently. Arnold Schwarzenegger can get up here and say, I'm a weightlifter too, and much more believable. SEO is a hard thing to manage. If you're trying to find an SEO company, just ask for references, call them, ask them how much they pay, how long they've done it, because there's a lot of tricks you can do to make it work really quick, like steroids, but huge negative ramifications later, and you'll get blacklisted because you've cheated, essentially. But there's a lot of on-page or on-site stuff. There's something called structured data, where you tell Google kind of under the hood when it's crawling your website, I'm a dentist office. These are my hours. This is my address. This is the name of my practice. This is the phone number. These are my latitude, longitude coordinates. Like little boring things that patients will never see, but search engines will see. And they use that data to match up with the records that they have that they've bought from Dun & Bradstreet and other companies that sell data, because they want to try to make sure you're who you are. The biggest single problem we see with that kind of stuff is the data is inconsistent. So what's your address?
10850 South 48th Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85044.
So I just looked at somebody's site earlier today at the show, and you said the word South in there, and his address was like North whatever street, and half of his listings online for review sites and directories, they didn't have the word North, so they just had the street, and he wanted to know why it wasn't coming up, and that's not the only reason, but it was a problem. So having all that data consistent is vital. Having it friendly for mobile is good. Then you start to get into little things like whether or not you use SSL. And all these little things aren't going to kill you by itself. You can make a lot of mistakes and still win. But every one of these mistakes is going to cost you 0.5% here, 1% there, depending on how big of a transgression Google feels it is. And they keep changing their algorithm, so that's a kind of a fluid state.
How do you know if your site's been blacklisted? Does Google tell you?
Not really. There's some tools in like Google Webmaster Panel or whatever they call it now. They keep renaming their products. But once you get in there, there's a little section that tells you whether or not you're under a manual penalty, which means somebody reviewed what you were doing or what your SEO company was doing.
For your website?
Yeah.
Because whenever I open up Google Plus, this is my website.
I think you're the last person using Google Plus.
I know, but look what it says whenever I open up Google Plus.
You've recently been violating our policies. If you continue, you may lose the ability to use some. Well, let's learn more. What did you do? I wouldn't think this is something to do with your website. I think this is did you get in a tiff with somebody?
No.
User content and conduct policy. Were you cursing? You do curse a lot.
I'm pretty fucking sure I never cursed.
Pretty fucking sure.
On Google.
We take our policies seriously and ask you to respect them. It doesn't, notifications from it doesn't tell you why. User content and conduct policy. It looks like you posted something that violated their policy.
What I don't understand,
which could be a number of things.
What I don't understand is I typed okay. But now it's reminding me I have to type okay every time for like a year.
This is why everybody's on Facebook.
What's that?
That's why everybody's on Facebook. I don't know. That's weird. I've never seen that before with Google Plus.
So I'm special.
Well, you are, but I would think that, and in only good ways. But I would think that you have some bit of content on there that's violating their policy, and it's still there. So they keep displaying the warning. But I don't think they have a lot of brain power working on Google Plus anymore. They've kind of lost interest.
Well, I mean, they can't even do the most fundamental basic stuff on Google Plus. I mean, it looks like like who's in charge of that? Someone like nobody. 16?
No, I think they've had probably 16 managers go through that, and it doesn't get the love that search. And
so do you have any? If someone said to you, "Okay, dude, I bought your website," who would you recommend for dental SEO?
Oh, well, we do it. I mean, there's a lot of people that are good at it.
So then you do it.
Well, we're happy to do it too, of course.
Well, this is Dentistry Uncensored. Specifics. How much is a website? How much is ongoing SEO?
We have a couple different levels. At the very bottom, when we're competing with companies like OfficeSite and ProSites who will make a standard templated website with stock content, we can do those sites for around $1,000. But you're starting. There's a couple things that need to be changed before you're doing marketing. After that, we like to see unique custom content. Some of our clients will write it themselves. Some dentists are really good writers.
Now, do they have to write it, send it into you, and you paste it, or is it more
No. That's
do-it-yourself style where I can?
It's really either way. Some clients will send us everything, and they just want us to handle it for them. Some clients do everything themselves, and they think we're a software company. They have no idea we're a marketing company. They just use our software platform. It's easy. It's user-friendly. My mom can do it. She can barely send a picture of the family dog without me walking her through on the phone how to attach the picture to the email and press send. She can update her website. So we have training. So that it can be, we wanted to make a solution that was super inexpensive and very easy, and so it was very approachable. But if we're doing like custom sites where, you know, it's kind of ready for marketing, those are like $3.5 to $5,000 depending on how much copywriting, how much design, do we do a logo. When you start doing marketing services on top of that, SEO setup costs usually are about $1,500 to $2,500 depending on how many practices you have, how crazy it's getting, and then the monthly fees vary wildly. So if you're in a really rural area, we have one client that's in like a farming community in Louisiana and calls me up every like year or so, and he's like, I want to do SEO. We're like, you're already first. There's one other dentist in your town and he doesn't do anything. Just wait till he wakes up. Until then, enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Other dentists are in downtown Seattle and it's, you know, over $2,000 a month because it takes a lot of manual labor.
And what are you doing with that $2,000 a month? Are you buying a lot of Google AdWords?
No. We do that too, but if we're doing SEO, we use that money for SEO. So there's link building. There's constantly like citations, these like online directories that just crop up and they're wrong. So you're playing whack-a-mole with bad listings that come up. We're tuning individual pages and content. So part of our process is we practically demand that the office get involved and give us a warm body on the other end of the phone who's going to record video testimonials, take before and after cases, write a blog post here and there, post to Facebook, or record a video with the dentist, which is something almost every patient wants to see. And almost every dentist should be doing. So once we get that content, somebody has to tune it a little bit so it performs well with Google. So every month, there's some tuning of content, rearranging the deck chairs a little bit, seeing how it worked the previous month, fixing problems that arise, trying to get links back to the site in a very ethical white hat way. Not if you're buying links, if somebody gives you a proposal and says you're going to get 100,000 links or a huge number of links, they're buying them programmatically through a company in India. Nothing against India, but that's just where most of these companies seem to be. And that might work at most for a couple months, and then you will get a manual penalty and wonder what happens.
What is these links you're buying?
So a great, like, there's a couple tricks you can do. If you're sponsoring like local charities or organizations or a high school, for example, oftentimes they'll have a page about their sponsors. Please have them link it to your website. We had a dentist in Michael, I can't remember his last name. I think Lutkin. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. In Kauai, Hawaii. And he used to be a lifeguard, and he saw this family drowning, basically, in the water and about to get thrown against the rocks, and he paddled out and saved 2 people's lives. Got a great story in the San Francisco Chronicle, maybe, because that's where they were from, and the local Hawaiian paper. And we were like, can you contact that author, or can you put us in touch with that author and have them link you back to your website? So if you, a lot of times dentists have some legitimate PR opportunities. A lot of dentists go to like Africa or Latin America and do mission work. They are involved in the community for like a Veterans Day or like a Dentistry for the Homeless Day. And there's a bunch of like legit PR opportunities. And if you just contact the author or the journalist, they're all too happy to put a link in there for you. But it takes somebody, a little bit of back and forth.
What do you think most dentists don't do the ultimate PR to drive traffic to their website?
What's that?
Shoot a lion.
Shoot a lion?
Shoot Cecil the lion.
We that was the biggest news in dental marketing for us. We're very excited about that from just like looking at the data, because you saw so many reviews going through Yelp and Google+. And so you had the wave of like 1-star negative reviews of like, this guy needs to die and all these awful things. And then you have like the backlash from the hunters who were like, give me a break and blah, blah. And so you're seeing this like war going on the reviews, and his rankings increased during that entire period. We set up, as soon as it happened, we set up monitoring campaigns because we were just curious. And his rankings in local increased, his rankings in organic increased, they increased on Yahoo, they increased on Bing, they increased on Google. And he got links from the New York Times. That's like the holy grail.
So you agree you should shoot a lion?
No, but if you, I don't agree with that. I don't know if that overall.
How about that little goldfish in that Disney movie? What was that?
Finding Nemo.
So how about shooting Nemo? How about get a new? I mean, obviously everyone's into fake news. How about we just do a story where local dentist shoots Nemo?
I mean, it's a strategy. I don't know if it would be my first choice. There's other things you can do, I think, that are more newsworthy. What if you just save some surfers, like Dr. Lutwin did? I'd rather have you do something more newsworthy like that just gets a little bit of PR. Because, like, I don't know, like, that guy got death threats and stuff. I don't know if that's ever worth the risk. Apparently he's like an ultimate fighting, like cage fighter guy.
Is he really?
Yeah. He's an intense dude.
Huh.
World champion, like, bow hunter.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not that scary.
Yeah.
If you can defend yourself with weapons and your fists, you have more options, I guess.
I got a deer hunting story again. The most controversial ad Dentaltown ever did, which was insane. It was about 10 years ago. And there was a dentist in Missouri whose wife was a vet, and they had sponsored a deer hunting trip where you could go learn online CE. So the deer move at dawn and dusk.
There's CE for everything in dentistry, which I love.
Oh my god!
Because I can get to it in a tax deductible way now, since we can buy a booth or sometimes I'm speaking. But there's deer hunting in Missouri.
So they ran an ad in Dentaltown with him holding this big old buck, 8-point, 10-point, 12-point, and his wife, the veterinarian. Oh my God. I think we got 1,000 letters. 1,000 letters.
Were they from dentists or just?
Oh yeah, dentists. And some of them were very famous, like Rich Maddow, Dave Maddow.
Yeah.
Rich and Dave Maddow, they're massively anti-hunters. I mean, we had 1,000 letters saying, first of all, how could that guy be a dentist if he's killing an animal? And who in the hell could be a veterinarian and shooting an animal with a bow and arrow?
Well, most vets are employed by like the agriculture industry for like food production, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
In Australia, I think it's like half. Or just, just maintaining the production lines.
But yeah, it's a very controversial deal. So if a dentist is listening to this and says, I don't know about my website, I don't know about SEO. Jeff, bottom line is this: I'm getting, I want 10 extra new patients a month. If I'm already paying my rent, mortgage, equipment, bill, computer, insurance, malpractice, dude, if I had 10 more patients a month, I've paid all my bills. Half of it would go to gravy. What would you say to a guy who called you up and said, I want 10 more patients a month?
I'd tell him to take a deep breath first, because there's usually not a magic bullet for this kind of stuff. There's usually a strategy that needs to be put in place. And if they're suffering on new patient flow, there's usually a couple of different problems. And it usually starts with the website. They don't have unique content. They don't have videos. They don't have pictures. They have a bland, boring website. And you don't want to pay somebody like me to deliver more patients to your website if patients get there and they're not going to be impressed. So we usually start there. Once their website's really solid, it depends on their time horizon and their urgency. If you want more patients immediately at a higher price, Facebook and Google are the best things to do. I'm starting to run experiments with like Snapchat, and Instagram works really well too, but that's kind of wrapped into Facebook. SEO is usually a better value in the long run, but you got to wait 6 months. It's like planting crops with seeds.
So you really put Google ads and Facebook ads in the same category?
Facebook ads have the best return on investment for any class of ads we're doing. The cheapest, like we have people getting patients at like $7 a patient.
Okay, so what does
but it also
mean?
is the worst.
But what does that mean? Does that mean boosting a post or creating an ad, or is that the same thing?
There's 3 things we do. We'll boost posts. So just, you took a great picture of the dentist volunteering in the parade, or you have cute kids. I'm not above using my kids in marketing. If you're a pediatric dentist and you've built a web through us, the stock photography is probably my children. But so anything you can do with kids usually plays well. That usually gets lots of attention and likes, and you can boost those posts or whatever. Somebody's got CE, they're doing something interesting in the community, whatever. We'll boost the post. The second thing we'll do is ads. So we'll just run ads to targeted demographics. So you're a mom that is in a high income bracket who recently moved to the area. You need a new dentist. We're going to show that person ads, and we're going to pay a high price to get in front of that mom. Or if your office is bilingual, and you're targeting people that like Doritos, those Mexican sodas, then we want to show them a Spanish-speaking ad because you check a lot of boxes for it. So there's so we have boosting posts, we have targeted demographic ads, and then there's another thing called lead generation ads. So they're little ads that exist within Facebook, and they just kind of pop up, and it's kind of similar. You know, you might need a dental implant, you're a little bit older, you fit the demographic, you play hockey or something, you're going to lose a tooth eventually. So you show them these ads within Facebook. That, of all the things you can do, that if you want volume right now, if your phone is just, if you have holes in your schedule and your phone is not ringing, do lead pages, your phone will blow up. But be ready because you need to call people back quickly. You'll get these forms that'll come in and you have to call them back within a couple minutes. If you have a front desk that's on the ball and can do that, you'll do really well. And the clients we've had that have run those ads have gotten a ton of new patients at a very cheap price. If you don't have time to call them back, or your front desk is busy or working on other things, do not run these ads. You will hate me and you'll tell me they were a bad value because there's a lot of spam that gets in there. A lot of people that just kind of fill out forms on Facebook mindlessly, and a lot of people that fill out a couple different forms for different dentists. And so if you're not the first person to call them back, the odds get worse and worse and worse. And I wish I remember the ads that Nicole, who runs all of our Facebook ads, was telling me, but it was astounding. I think it was like double the chances you would get a patient if you could do it within 5 minutes. And by the end of like the first hour, your chances were down to like less than 10%. So if you have the time, the landing pages or the lead generation pages work really well. Otherwise, there's a couple of different ways to win.
So back to back to new patients. You don't want to drive people to your website unless it's a good impression.
Yeah.
Because first impressions are set in lead. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So
very rarely.
So first you would spruce up your website.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you're telling him he's got to get involved and start creating some content.
You have to
putting
do
some
something.
video,
Yeah.
putting some pictures.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing those videos, are you recommending creating a YouTube video and putting that YouTube video in your website?
Yeah,
or?
Always YouTube. Google will rank YouTube videos in web search results. So if you Google right now, just pause this and go Google Gasport, New York, root canal. Hopefully that will have some sticking power and it'll stay. But I just checked this earlier. One of our clients, bring it up real quick on your phone if you want. One of our clients posted like a root canal testimonial video, and it comes up like 4th in the search results, but it's the only thing with a picture on that page, and it stands out. And so if you put stuff on YouTube, it's very fast, it's free, it'll do closed captioning automatically, and lately there's been some like fear mongering of like jerk lawyers suing like for ADA compliance, and one of the things they're pointing at are videos that don't have closed captioning. YouTube will automatically do closed captioning, so it just removes the outside chance you'll get sued. And it might turn up in search results. So you might get a patient that finds your video first and then goes to your website instead of the other way around.
Yeah. Man, this country, one of the most messed up things about it, has 1 million attorneys.
Yeah. A lot of attorneys.
Yeah, a lot of ambulance chasers. I mean, it's one of the biggest hidden taxes on society.
Oh, yeah.
Is 1 million attorneys charging out $1 trillion a year in a $19 trillion economy. So one in every $19 has to go to feed 1 million attorneys.
Oh, it's a disgrace. And you look at how expensive some things are, or like rules that people have put in place, or just like things that don't cost money but like suck the fun out of life. Like, remember diving boards? Like, dude, I was a kid, you would go to a hotel and every hotel had a diving board, and I can't remember the last time I saw one. And they're all gone because somebody got drunk and cracked their head open and sued.
And every state pays almost half of their money to go to education. And every elementary school spread out through every poor neighborhood, the basketball courts and all the playgrounds all fenced off because if some poor kid came back to his school at night and swinging on the swing and fell off and hurt himself,
and sued. Yeah,
so it's like the poor people paying for these schools can't even go sit on the swing set or shoot hoops at night when the sun goes down.
A lot of governments and corporations have started treating us like children because attorneys have put them in that box, and you know, it's
so
they have a lot to lose.
So would having I always thought that if you want to come up high in Google rating, you should use a lot of Google products. You should use YouTube. You should have that's why I have a Google Plus account.
Yeah.
That's why I have a Gmail account, howardfarran@gmail.com. Do you think having a Gmail address on your website would make Google smile more friendly?
No, I mean, you have to have a Gmail address to do a lot of those things that will help. So, kind of yes, but just the Google, I don't think cares where your email address is in terms of search engine ranking. But you have to have a Google account to get a Google Plus profile, and if you have 5-star reviews in your Google Plus profile, that will definitely help your Google ranking. Having a YouTube account will help if you have everything linked over and you have videos appear in search results. So yeah, I mean, it's using Google products will help you.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else did you want to talk about? What else has got you passionate?
Let's see. There's I mean, the biggest thing that we're constantly harping on is creating content, and a lot of dentists, I think, the biggest mistake they make is they want to just write a check to somebody else to have them do it for them, and I hear that quite a bit. And I want dentists to abandon that thinking and that philosophy, because somebody from your office has to be involved. And it doesn't take a ton of work, but you've got to at least record a little bit of video with you speaking to a camera, because not everybody grew up going to their dad for 35 years like me, and some people are genuinely afraid of the dentist and had bad experiences, and you got to do something to break that down. And if you pay somebody else to do the work for you, they're going to do it, and they might do a good job, but it's going to look very similar to the work they did for somebody else, which may have also been good, but it's all going to start to bleed together and look bland and uninteresting. And you need to stand out. You need to be, unique. You're very unique, and it works. And no matter what type of personality you have, you may not have the type of personality Howard has. You may not want to have the type of personality Howard has.
My mom dropped me, and she told me.
It happens.
It happens.
But sometimes
killed all my hair cells. Now I'm not right in the head.
It happened to me.
But you know what's funny? In Freakonomics, they said the name unique for a baby in California. There's over 278 spellings for the name unique. In fact, my son just bought a drone, and I was looking at the name of it, and I realized, oh my God, that spells unique. I mean, it sounds unique if you phonetically. So you bought the unique drone.
I don't know if I would name my kid that, although it is a unique name, but I just went with Owen.
Well, that's the thing in marketing. I mean, you have to have a unique selling proposition.
You do?
There's 211,000 Americans who have a current license to practice dentistry. Probably 150,000 are more than 30 hours a week general dentists. About 30,000 are basically more than 30-hour specialists. So when you're in Phoenix, Arizona, like I am, and there's a dentist on every corner, that website should stand out about something. There's got to be some unique selling proposition. And I think the most unique selling proposition about any dental office is the damn dentist.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're saying. Create content, create video. They want to see the dentist.
And if you're struggling to think about like how you're different, there's a couple different ways you can go down. There's education and training. You certainly have some unique CE education, and a lot of patients have no idea that CE is mandatory. They're like, if you start telling them, I did all this, I've done 100 hours of orthodontic training or implant training, that's impressive to them. They have no idea you're forced to go every year and get a certain amount of training. They don't know this. Tell them. It's positive. You're not lying. You're just representing yourself as best as you can. You may have a different philosophy. We have dentists that are against fluoridation. We have dentists that say these guys are crazy, but there's a market for that. There are certain people that want to go to a really holistic dentist that wants to remove the mercury amalgams, and because that's going to keep the cancer away, or is interested in oil pulling. If that's your bag, embrace those customers and start advertising at the the hippie health food store. If not, don't touch it. But know kind of what type of clientele you want to attract or patients you want to attract, and try to market yourself in that direction. And you also probably have equipment. If you have a CEREC machine and you can do same-day crowns, talk about, efficiency and speed and convenience. If you don't and you think that that's a bad strategy because you don't feel like the work is good enough, talk about quality and craftsmanship and doing it right. And whatever you really believe in, you have to expose that to your patient base so they know kind of what they're going to get. Because if you have a great personality and you're a really funny guy and you like to joke around, my dad would do like Phil Collins impressions for people if that song came on the radio. Then let that come through in video, and that's why we like video so much. You can start to get a personality across, and people will connect with a personality. And unlike buying hardwood floor or something, like you don't really care who you're getting it from. You might care if they didn't kill some tree in the rainforest to do it, but other than that, you don't really care. But you're talking about someone who's going to be sticking their hands in your mouth and in your face, and you're going to be spending some time with them. Usually you have to like the person,
and the rewards are going to be huge. With before Southwest Airlines, only rich people flew. I mean, you had to work for a big Fortune 500 company, or you had to be money. And now
it's a great time to fly these days.
Anybody can afford to fly. And I know a lot of dentists in big cities where grandma was in a small rural town where half of America lives, and she didn't really think her little small town dentist had those skills, even though he might have been a diplomat in the International Congress on Implantology, but there's no sign of it in his office or on his website.
These guys, you don't like to brag.
And these guys that have built, who have focused on implants and have 10, 20 amazing implant cases on their website, they'll tell you they put up their website and they have people flying in on Southwest Airlines on an hour flight away, a 2-hour flight away, dropping 25, 50 grand on a dental case, and he knows his colleague back in that town is as good or maybe even better than he does, and she doesn't even know that.
How do they find him? Because we're almost always, when we're running marketing campaigns, deliberately trying to exclude people who would possibly fly in, because it's such a low probability marketing result. Do you know, with those kinds of stories, how are people finding them that are willing to get on planes with 25 grand in cash?
I don't know, but I know, and I've podcast interviewed a lot of them where they said, I only do implant dentistry and I've got 10 or 15 cases on there, and people read my website and they fly in from all around their region of the United States.
All around too, not a cluster. That's amazing. I know that'll happen with referrals, or with old patients that move away, and sometimes they'll just come back.
And I really
still fly back to Delaware to see my dad.
Where's it?
Delaware.
Uh-huh. So, but you're in Colorado.
Yes.
You're in what?
Denver.
And you moved out there when they legalized weed, right?
Before they got there. It was
okay.
Added bonus.
That wasn't the reason you moved there?
No.
That wasn't the reason?
It's good. It's good for recruiting, though.
So what do you think about that in the state of Colorado?
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, we've made the level of teen use dropped by a little bit. We're now below the national average. The first state to legalize weed is below the national average for teen use.
Do you think it's correlated?
I don't know, but it's not making it worse. We get a ton of tax revenue. We have this thing called the Tabor laws, where any new tax laws, you have to budget how much you're going to collect. And if you get more than that, it has to be rebated to the public. So we passed 30% taxes on weed, huge taxes on weed, and we made too much money. So they're like, we have all this money, what are we going to do with it? And they're like, well, legally we have to return it to the people that bought the weed. And everybody's like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to keep the money. And everybody was in agreement, but they had a pot sales tax holiday, and all the dispensaries were advertising.
I had
they fixed that loophole now.
I have a very jaded thoughts on weed. I don't like weed. I don't smoke weed. But I did go to college for 9 years. And what I noticed is on Friday nights is if the boys drank beer, they got all interested in girls, wanted to go to the bars and dance and chase women all night. If they drank the hard stuff, the Jack Daniels, the whiskeys, the vodkas, they got violent. They got in fights. They got in DUIs. Cops showed up. But if they smoked weed, they just stayed home and watched movies and ordered Domino's pizza. And I'd look at all the carnage from the heavy hard liquors. And I think, you know what? I mean, I was saying it at the end of freshman year at Creighton that Jack Daniels should be legal, and they should hand out free reefer at 5 o'clock at every male dormitory on a Friday night. Just like, hey, dude, smoke this. Be cool. We're not going to do what we did last week, right? Yeah, just go up there, get high, eat a pizza. Because last week was batshit crazy when you drank a bottle of Jack Daniels.
You're just going, yeah. I mean, it's what's the name of that term where it's like basically damage control. You're like, all right, you're just hitting the bottle way too hard. What if we could just get you to switch to weed and then just be
in my 54 years, and I look at all the carnage I see. I mean, so much of the media is on like Prince and his opiates, or meth.
Fentanyl, like that. Those are bad.
Are they?
And that's legal.
They talk about Michael Jackson on Propanol for year round for a year. It's like, okay, I don't know anybody on Propanol. Mm-hmm. But when I look around my first half century on Earth, the biggest carnage on Earth was always from alcohol.
Oh yeah, I mean
85% of all the most screwed up families on Earth, it wasn't from Propanol and Percodan. It was just from alcohol.
It's accessible and it can kill you. And a lot of deaths on the road.
And it's for sale legally on every corner.
Every corner. I know there's been like 3 weed-related deaths. You can't really OD on weed apparently, but I know like there's like some exchange student from Africa who had never used weed before, and it's always edibles. You read about like tourists in the paper who will come in, and if you're coming to Colorado and you want to try marijuana, please listen to whatever the people in the shop tell you about how much to eat, because the same thing always happens. The person will eat a little bit, and it takes like an hour to kick in. So they'll do nothing, and for like a half hour, and then they'll be like, it's not working. I need to take some more. And then they'll eat another one. 15 minutes later, one more, an hour, they'll have another bite. And now they're like 4x the dosage. And now they're gonna have a bad night. And so one guy like jumped off a balcony because thought he was going crazy. Somebody else like was depressed and like shot themselves. Their family were in Keystone skiing, and they thought that they would just leave this guy home with a loaded handgun because he had a carry permit. And while they all went out to dinner, never used it before, ate way too much, was freaking out, shot himself. And then some other guy shot his wife and said it was weed, but he just got found guilty. It turns out he was just trying to kill his wife. Blame the weed. So it's really just 2, but I mean, we do that in a weekend with alcohol.
Well, the reason I'm interested in the weed part is, half the market of dentistry is fear, and the other half is cost. And everybody, the noise gets all the same day dentistry done when that's like a rounding error. And I'm just still waiting for the first practice to treat anxiety to say, come to my practice an hour before. I'll give you a little whatever thing to eat and reduce your anxiety, then we'll do that dentistry.
That's a unique value proposition. I remember reading on Dentaltown about people like talking about it, like they're thinking about doing it. I would imagine that they would get into some kind of trouble with the DEA, which still is treating this as an illegal drug, even in states where it's legal, if they're really promoting that heavily and doing it. I don't know the legalities of that. You could probably tell people to take an edible, but you run the risk of, if someone's not a regular user, I don't know if I would advise them to do that. They can have a very bad time. If they're a regular user,
Well, that's what I'm interested in, because the only thing I'm really interested in is my 4 boys, my 2 grandkids in dentistry, and I mean when I look at dentistry, the big carnage in dentistry is either they're truly poor and don't have any money for treatment, or they're truly scared to death and just too afraid to get into treatment. And
we make some people really paranoid. I can remember that from college, like people just freaking out, thinking like cops were going to come and just like ruining the party. I don't know. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, and
but I think it would work for some.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
You have to try it.
I'll have to.
Is it legal in Arizona yet?
No, the last election, 7 states voted on legalizing it, and we were the only state that voted it down.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, well, they said it was because Arizona has a huge Mormon population, and
it's not alcohol, though.
They were very against
I guess
it.
They're against that?
Yeah.
The Mormon church? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's a demographic wave where, like, everybody, all the kids that we hire in, like, their mid-20s that are super savvy marketers. Like the opinions of everybody in that age group is why, of course it should be legal. It just feels inevitable.
All right. Well, hey, I want to thank you for coming by my booth and doing another podcast.
Always a pleasure.
All right, buddy.